Hi everyone, this is Matthew Cruz, and I'll be presenting the November 2020 USDA Supply Demand Report that came out this morning. Big news in the corn and bean world. We shaved production down to 14.5 billion bushels. That was at the very bottom end of the range, what people are looking for. They were looking a little bit close to this 14.68 billion bushel level. So that was good, surprising news, positive news. Most of that came from the yield reduction. You can see here that 175.8 is what they reduced the corn yield for, and the U.S. corn yield. They were looking a little bit close to this 177.9, and so again, right at the very bottom end of the range. So the prices responded positively to that news. Similar situation in the beans. They shaved production down to 4.17 billion bushels, a little bit lower end of the range. You can kind of see what that range was at here. They were looking for an average estimate around that 4.246. That again also came from yield reduction. They were looking closer to 51.6 bushels per acre yield, and about a bushel less, 50.7 is what the USDA says that the soybean crop will be for this year. Looking at the ending stocks, then that reduces that quite a bit, and that's what sent the markets higher. They're still looking a little bit over 2 billion bushels in the corn, and reduce it dramatically to this 1.7 billion bushels. And so anytime we can get below that 2 billion bushel level, usually means we can stay pretty close or stay above the $4 range in corn, and so that's good news there. And that was below the range of estimates. Looking at the soybeans, the estimate was about 233, and we came in at this 190 million bushel level. And so we've often said that pipeline stocks and soybeans are roughly around 200 million bushels, and so we've just stuck our head below that level there at 190. And then wheat, pretty much the same, just came in right at what the average trade estimate was looking at, so at this 877 million bushel level. But still, historically, we've been closer to this a billion bushels. You kind of see last year at this time we're at billion bushels. So wheat, while it didn't change, its wheat stocks are down a little bit from where they were last year. Looking at around the world, other major production countries, Brazil's estimates, USDA pegged at 133 million metric tons for their next crop. CONAB came out with their results at 135 million metric tons, and so they're not they're a little bit more optimistic than what the USDA is at this point. But either or, even 133, that would be the largest Brazilian soybean crop ever. Last year's is the largest so far, 126. Similar situation in Brazilian corn at 110 million metric tons. And Argentina soybeans at 51, a little less than what the average trade was looking for, and then the corn at 50. Global ending stocks, they dropped that shaved that about 5 million metric tons from 296 to 291 in corn. Soybeans 87.5, they dropped that to 86.5, and then not too much change in the wheat, 319.7 to 320.5. So this is the corn balance sheet. This gives you a little bit better look of where they're rearranging the deck chairs here. So most of that's coming today from the yield reduction. Last month they were at 178.4, and they reduced that 2.6 bushels per acre to this 175.8. They've also increased exports here. They did make a reduction of 75 million here for domestic consumption, but ultimately a huge reduction from 1 month to the next, 465 million bushel reduction. Half of that coming from yield reduction, and so that's what dropped our ending stocks from this 2.1 billion bushels down to this 1.7 billion bushels. Similar situation in soybeans. We dropped the yield estimate to 1.2 bushels per acre. That dropped production 98 million bushels. A couple other minor adjustments here in seed and residual use, but ultimately dropping ending stocks 100 million bushels from 290 to this 190. And so that's why we had that change today. Looking at wheat, didn't change too much. Yield remained the same. Increasing feed and seed use a little bit. Exports increased a little bit. So ending stocks dropped 6 million bushels from this 883 to 877. So let's see what prices have done so far today. This is not the close, but this is looking at March corn. March corn right now is up about 14 and 3/4 cents. So you kind of see here that we've been in this very long and continuous upward trend, and the trend is still intact, moving higher. We moved above this resistance level, roughly 422, and so that is a big move for today. And so corn is good news. We're heading in the right direction. Anytime you get big moves like this, you expect to get a little bit of correction, but so far markets continue to move like it wants to go higher. In soybeans, this is March soybeans. March soybeans so far is up 35 for the day, so really big move. That the trade again was not expecting to see as big of a downgrade in ending stocks as what they did, and so blew right past resistance here at the top, and so currently trading as high as 1143 in March beans. Wheat is up about 6 cents for the day. There wasn't really any bullish news. I think it's mostly just following the corn up but wheat is starting to trend sideways here, so no major news to send wheat much higher, other than the fact that I think it's just kind of following in step a little bit with what corn is doing. So if you're a bull, you're going to point out the economic recovery that's currently underway. There's been big news about a vaccine that's supposed to be ready for approval here in December, and that's gotten the markets very excited. There's been a lot of talk about how China is going to need to buy 22 million metric tons of corn. Of course, the yield downgrade today, may not be the last downgrade that we see as time goes on. As numbers come in, and then if you're a bear, you're going to talk about the post-election uncertainty. And so before the election, there was a lot of course, uncertainty there about who was going to be elected, and now with a lot of suspicions of voter fraud and allegations around that, it creates continued uncertainty there. And then the coronavirus is continuing to increase. They're calling it a second wave, and so that could keep people at home and not travel as much, and less travel means less ethanol consumption, which is never good for the corn industry. I want to thank you for watching, and if you have any questions, as always, feel free to give us a call at 712-227-1110. Thank you, and have a nice day.